Morning folks, Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. Out here at one of my camps on the Pathfinder School property. What I'm doing today is I'm actually making some round ball for my single shot 12 gauge. And what I want to discuss with you really is more about the mentality of ammunition from a 21st century Longhunter standpoint. I want to discuss not commercial ammunition. Obviously we can carry all of that we want to for our 12 gauge, but I want to talk about ammunition like raw ammunition, raw powder and things like that that we're going to carry for our single shot 12 gauge to shoot black powder with a 209 shotgun primer adapter that we carry on our website. I've done countless videos on using the single shot 12 gauge as a muzzle loader, so you can refer back to those videos. I'll try to put one or two of them linked to this video. What I really want to discuss is I want to discuss the mentality of the ammunition that you carry in a given situation. And for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to always carry shot. And the reason behind that is that shot is the hardest thing to reproduce in the wild, other than grabbing rocks, pebbles, stones, things like that, broken glass. But as far as lead goes, shot is the hardest thing to duplicate. In the 18th century, they used shot towers, which was a commercial operation that they poured molten lead into a tower and let that lead roll down to the bottom of that tower to come out as shot. So it was a commercial operation. It wasn't something that they could do readily in the woods. And Steve Davis and I from Woodcrafter 76, Stillwater Woodcraft, did quite a few experiments trying to duplicate some type of shot in the wild, and it's very difficult to do. You can take a piece of wood and cut a channel in it, a very thin channel, and pour lead into it and then chop that lead into pieces. You're going to get some kind of shot out of that. Misshapen squared shot, things like that. But to get round shot is difficult. What's easy to do with just a couple of implements is to make round ball. So if you carry shot, you can then melt that shot down, and if you're carrying a lead ladle and a lead mold, either in a buckshot or in a round ball mold like 71 caliber, which is what I use for my 12 gauge, you can then take some of that shot, melt it down to make the round ball that you desire, but you always have that hardest component to recreate in the shot with you. Stay with me because that's what we're going to do today, guys. And we're also going to talk about how to maximize the effect of that round ball or make it the most accurate it can be from your single shot smoothbore. Stay with me. Okay, so what I've done here is I have poured some shot into this ladle and melted it down. And you can see that molten lead in that ladle. And that's what we're going to turn into round ball. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more shot in there first out of my shot flask. And I generally carry 6 shot. It's what I generally carry. I'm just using the ramrod. I spilled a little bit there. I'm just using the ramrod that I use for my 12 gauge as a handle for this ladle. Now the other thing that I carry is a 71 caliber round ball mold, and I'm going to lay it here beside the fire to heat it up, and I'm going to want a good pair of gloves, leather gloves, to perform this operation. If we get some wood in there like that, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. The impurities will burn away. Generally, the first ball or two that you mold will not be correct because you have to heat the mold up. Okay, so generally the first ball or two that you mold may not come out completely right. You can see that one's got a little bit of waviness to it. So we're going to put that one back in and melt it in a minute when it cools down. Right now we're going to leave it in here to keep the mold heated up until we get some more lead melted down to make another ball. Then we'll just remelt that one. Now generally speaking for this, we're not trying to keep a big fire. We just want a good bed of embers that we can work with to keep this lead hot. It's not working too bad right now. I got just about what I want, feeding small sticks in at a time. We got our mold laying there heating up. Should be ready to rock. I just poured another one in here. We'll see what happens. The first one's a little off, and we're going to melt it down again. Let's put it right back in the ladle and let it melt. We're not wasting any lead that way. We're only going to make as many balls as we think we're going to need right away. So I may only make 3 or 4, throw them in the bottom of my shooting bag, and I won't make any more. I'll save the shot because, again, that's the hardest thing to recreate. And if I need more round ball, I can always make more very easily with these 2 implements. And that's not too ugly. I mean, it's still got some waves in it. It's definitely a shootable ball. I'll explain to you why that is in a minute. Throw that slag in there. Let that melt down. I'd like it to be a little better than that, to be honest with you. But I would definitely shoot that thing if I needed to. I'm going to go ahead and leave that round ball in this mold just to keep it warmed up while I'm melting some more lead down here. Okay. Shake that dude out of there. That one's looking better. They're looking better. Every time we cast one, they're looking better. Okay, so this ball is fairly cool now. That was laying here on top of the stump. And we need to cut the sprue off of it. And we just take our sprue cutter and we put it right over the top of that ball just like this. And we cut that sprue off of the ball. Get it centered in there good. If you don't have a very big sprue, it may take a little finagling. There we go. Now, you can take that and smooth that off with a file if you want to. Just take the file, whatever file you're carrying, and you can smooth that down to a flat. You can't get it completely cut off of there. But we're going to use this file on this ball in just a minute anyway. So I'm just going to knock that down until I can not feel it anymore. That'll work. Okay. That one there I can use. That's a usable ball as well. So I'm going to make one more. And then we're going to work on our round ball a little bit to make it a little bit more accurate. Okay, so once we have our round ball made, and again, like I said, this one's a little wavy, and that's okay. I'm going to use the back side of this horseshoe rasp and just rub that sprue off of there as best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. Okay, now, again, this ball doesn't have to be perfect either. I'm not worried about those waves in the ball right now because I'm getting ready to make this into what's called a chewed ball. And you can do this with a 4-way, a small 4-way file will do all of this stuff. I just happen to have a horseshoe rasp that I'm using in this. We're going to need an anvil, and then we're going to take our horseshoe file, and we're basically going to rough this ball up because it's lead, just like this, and we're going to put dimples all over the ball, basically like a golf ball. And we're going to use that horseshoe file to do that, that horseshoe rasp. Now what that's going to do is, according to what I've read, number one, it makes it so you don't have to patch this ball. So you can just shove this ball down the barrel on top of a wad with a wad on top of it, and there's no need for patching. That makes it very quick to load. You don't have to try to force that ball down in so much like you do with a patch. So it makes it much easier to load. The dimples that you create by doing that roughing up of the ball to make that what's called a chewed ball makes it more aerodynamic, like a golf ball, from my research, which is supposed to make it more accurate. The biggest advantage to me is I don't have to patch the ball, and it still fits pretty snug down the barrel. I can just shove it down in there on top of a wad, put a wad on top, put it under the gunpowder, with the gunpowder under the first wad, and I'm good to go. Okay, so that gives us 4 chewed balls for the shooting bag. That's 4 shots. We've got a big game animal like a deer. If we need more, we can always make more. Okay guys, so again, the 2 tools that I used other than the file, and like I said, you could use a small 4-way. I just happen to be using a horseshoe rasp. You're going to need a mold of the caliber that you want to shoot, and this could be a buckshot mold, or it could be a round ball mold big enough for the caliber you're using. This happens to be a 71 caliber mold, 710, that's what I use in my 12 gauge. You'd want a 6.0 for a 20 gauge, or a 60 caliber mold for a 20 gauge. And then a lead ladle, this one happens to be hand forged. You can buy both of these things on the internet fairly cheap. Molds are about 40 bucks, this is probably 20. Put that in your bag and you can make all the round ball ammunition you want. All you have to do from that point on is buy bags of lead shot. Okay, what I want to kind of show you real quick is This is that chewed ball that we made just a few minutes ago. And you can see it fits down in there, but you got to push it a little bit. Now I'm going to put a wad on top of it. I've already got my powder charge in there. I use sheep's wool for my wadding. We'll ram that dude home and we'll test it out. Okay guys, I just put a box out there in the woods. Nothing special. Hillbilly target, spray painted on it. It's probably 20 odd yards from here, I'm guessing, maybe 25. You ought to be able to get that close to a deer easy enough. So now, all we need to do is open the gun. We've already loaded it, but we didn't put our primer in yet. So we put a 209 shotgun primer in that adapter. That's a 777 black powder primer. And we're ready to shoot black powder from our 12 gauge. Open up the gun. We can just put our fingernail in there and pop the expended primer out. We're ready to go again. That shot looks like about 2 inches right and low. Let's try her again. Okay, let's give this dude another shot. I'll get a little bit steadier hold this time. Well, I'll tell you what, if she ain't nothing else, boy, she's consistent. I want you to see those two holes because they are on top of each other. Again, let's pop her out. Ready for the next shot. Now, what you may need to do is run you a pin in here every now and then to make sure that that's cleaned out. Make sure that that hole, where that charge hole goes through there, where that spark goes through the hole into the chamber. Every once in a while, you might need to pick that clean. I'll show you how to do that before we look at that target. Hang tight. Okay, guys, what I generally carry with me is I've got a leather thong I carry around my neck. And what I do with that is I've got just a powder measure made out of a smashed piece of brass pipe, or a copper pipe, I mean, real easy to make. Just get yourself a good, healthy measure. This one happens to be right at 100 grains. And then I've got just a piece of number 9 trap wire here that I heated up on the forge, pointed it off really good with a file, bent it over the top, and then just quick hardened it just to make it nice and hard. And I can use that to run inside that hole, and it runs all the way inside there to make sure that that's clean and my spark's going to go through there every time. So I try to make a habit of running that in there every time I shoot the gun. All right, let's go look at this target, guys. Okay, guys, I paced this off. It was 24 yards from where we were shooting this gun. You can see that those shots are an inch away from each other, and they're both right and low. But figuring the dot is your heart shot, that's where you're actually aiming. You still got 2 kill shots there beyond a shadow of a doubt at 24 yards. Obviously the gun shoots a little bit low, so I'd want to raise my sight picture up a little bit probably, but as far as consistency goes with just our chewed ball like that, no patching, down a smoothbore barrel with only one sight and no rear sight for elevation windage type adjustments, I'll take that every day and twice on Sunday. Well guys, I'm Dave Canterbury at the Pathfinder School. I thank you for joining me in this video today out here at the Hunters Camp. This is one of my camps out here on the Pathfinder School property. This is the 8x8 Woodsman School tarp by Derek Faria. Good choice for a tarp. You know, I think that tarps really depend on your use. It's just like every other piece of equipment. What are you going to use that piece of equipment for? If you're going to leave something set up for like a season, I think a heavy-duty canvas tarp like that, absolutely a bomb. If I've got to carry that tarp, or I'm planning on scouting and stopping and setting up camp and breaking down camp, then I'm probably going to go with an oilcloth tarp like the 8x8 from Tinsmiths. So it depends on application, what equipment I choose to use. The reason I did this whole chewed ball demonstration in this video was not really to repeat something that's already out there. Both of my instructors, I think, Steve Davis from Stillwater Woodcraft, as well as Brian Manning from Snowwalker 13, also, or Snowwalker Bushcraft, also have videos on chewed ball. The main reason I wanted to shoot this video today was to talk to you about my mentality when it comes to ammunition that you're going to carry into the field. I would always prefer to carry shot, because again, shot is something that's very hard to reproduce in the wild. It's like the 5 C's. The hardest things to reproduce that take specialized material, that take the most skill level, those are the things you want to carry. Things that are easy to make are the things you want to forego and make them from the landscape. Shot, I would carry a couple of tools with you to be able to make the size round ball that you need. Make it as you need it so that you're not wasting shot, because in all actuality, you're probably going to use a lot more shot to hunt for small game. They're going to use round ball to hunt big game anyway. So it's better to carry the shot and then break it down to round ball as needed. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for me, for my school, for my family, for all of my instructors, affiliates, and friends, and everyone affiliated with the Pathfinder School. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.